what you should be eating to reach 10% body fat. Hey guys, it's Lewis here from Physique Level Up. I'm going to give you a very easy alignment today of what should be on your plate when you're aiming to lose body fat, get into the best shape of your life and reach 10% body fat. Running through the macronutrient breakdown, giving you a bit of an insight as well of also caloric intake, but how your plate the majority of the time should be looking, because if we are eating the correct foods, that will help us control how much we eat, which is going to be very beneficial. If we've got high satiety foods in our nutrition protocol, it's going to control how much we eat, which again is going to keep us then in a calorie deficit so we can actually start losing body fat and get into your best shape. So sometimes we can get confused with what to eat. Shall we eat this? Am I allowed this? I feel guilty eating this. It's very difficult through periods. So just breaking it down on how the plate should look, and I will give you some examples as well of actual foods going into the macronutrient content. So macronutrients, guys, are broken down into calorie alignments. So we've got protein, fats, and carbohydrates. Here on a plate in full, how your plate should be looking is a quarter of the plate filled with protein, quarter of the plate filled with some fat, and then half the plate filled with some low starch carbohydrates or some fruits or some veggies. This diet in full times 3 will make it very, very easy for yourself to reach 10% body fat, because you're going to be getting in a good amount of fats, a good amount of proteins, calories will be controlled if you follow this structure, 3 meals per day with lots of water in between. It will be very, very powerful aspect. And most likely you will not overeat in this period through your caloric intake if we are going with the right foods. And I will run through some examples of foods that will fit into this plate and how your plate should be looking. But in general, low starch carbohydrates, fruit or veg, fats and protein. This times 3, you're gonna feel fantastic, have high energy in the day, and it's gonna keep you in a deficit so you can start losing fat, reaching your ideal physique. So why the low starch as well? Now, if we're having lots and lots of starch, especially in the day, guys, you may have heard the afternoon dip. Now, this will be applied if you're having too many starchy carbohydrates before noon or at lunchtime, and then you just want to fall asleep at 1 to 2 p.m. I'm sure we've felt this before, and if you are lower in energy, it could be down to your starch carbohydrate content. So if we keep lower starch in full, which is majority going to be fruits, in full there, and leaving the potatoes, the pastas, the rices, the majority more until the evening in full, then if you get tired going into the evening, that's absolutely fine, because then you're going to be near, of course, bedtime. So if everything is controlled low starch in the day, you're going to have very high energy through this amount. Having some starch is okay, guys. I'm not saying you can't have starch, but if you are going for lower starch sources, then your energy will be higher in the day and you're going to feel fantastic. We also have to control how much we're eating. So if you're having very high starchy foods in full, your insulin levels may rise massively and this may cause you to overeat. So if we go with lower starch, plenty of fruits, any fruits ending with berry, apples, majority of fruits are very low starch. This applied in the day, and then you can have more your starchy food in the evening. This is a very, very powerful aspect to have high energy and keeping you in that deficit so you can start losing fat. So just giving you some examples: protein, fats and fruits, veggies, low starch carbohydrates. Proteins in full, any protein source linking with salmon, steak, chicken, turkey mince, anything unprocessed is a very, very powerful aspect, and you should have a quarter of your plate filled up at this moment of time. Very, very important that this is applied, because protein is the building blocks of muscle. Protein will keep you full. Very, very satiating. So protein is very important. If you're just eating a meal with the fats and carbs, no protein, I highly recommend you add a protein source in your meal, because then this will control how much you eat. Very important. What we eat controls how much we eat. So it's very, very important in terms of alignments that we are having our protein, and we want to get sculpted. We want to build lean body mass. So protein is very, very important on our plate, a quarter at least every time you eat. Next, guys, is fats, a very, very important aspect for hormonal production and also energy alignments. Healthy fat sources such as cheese, such as avocados, such as salmon, such as eggs, such as nuts. Very, very powerful that we have some form of fats on our plate too, and we're not limiting fats. Fats are great when controlled. Fats are very, very great, guys. We don't want to always be under eating in fats, because if we are, you're going to get hormonal issues and you're going to get very, very tired. So having a fair amount of fat in your diet is very, very important. So a quarter of your plate filled up with fats is going to keep your energy stable and your hormones in check when you're losing body fat, when you are in a calorie deficit. So it's very, very important, guys, that we got our fats and our proteins in a very solid position. Then we've got the rest of the plate to fill up with low starch carbohydrates, some fruits or some veggies. Very, very important that we're filling up on the volume now of our plate to keep us full. Lots and lots of vegetables, keeping us very, very full then. Keeping full when aiming to reach 10% body fat is very, very important. So we want to really fill up on the high volume foods and eating the correct nutrition and keeping us full throughout the process. Just a heads up also, if you do want some starch with your meal at lunchtime, that's absolutely fine. If you want a couple of wraps or if you want some rice, that is absolutely fine. But do not go overboard on the carbohydrates and the high starch. Overboard on the cereals, overboard on the bread, overboard on the pasta. Do not go overboard, especially in the morning or afternoon, because you're going to get very, very tired, and this will potentially cause you to choose worse decisions in the evening. You're going to get hungry more quick because your insulin's going to go up very, very fast. It's going to shoot very, very high. So you want to make sure that you're choosing the right sources of carbohydrates. I highly recommend just keeping your starch very, very low. You can Google low starch foods and this will help you out massively in terms of what to eat in a day. Then you can have more of your starch in the evening, because then you'll be sharper, you'll make more smarter decisions, and it'll make very, very easy for yourself to stick to your calorie deficit. So watch out for your starch, guys, going forward. There's nothing wrong with higher starch, but just over energy alignments and making smarter decisions. We want to make it very easy to lose body fat and make it very, very simple. Having this meal structure in place is very, very sustainable. In terms of what time you eat your first meal, this is entirely up to you. If you're new to intermittent fasting also, then maybe not going until 12 or 1 o'clock to begin, because it's going to be very difficult. Your blood sugars are going to be very, very low and it's going to be harder for you to fast. I'm quite experienced with my intermittent fasting, so I will go between 12 to 1 o'clock most days, every day at least 12 o'clock. So if you're just starting out, you can push your breakfast till maybe 9 or 10 a.m. if you're having it at 6 or 7. Just push it a little bit later. Go for some black coffee and water in the morning, and then you can break your fast with your first meal. Then from when you eat your first meal, give it 3 to 4 hours in between each meal, and you're going to be in a very strong position. Also remembering, guys, this plate structure. Very, very important on how your plate should be looking, and it'll make it very, very easy for yourself, because you're choosing the right sources of nutrition, the correct sources of fuel, and this will help you control of how much you eat, which is going to be easy to adhere to a calorie deficit, which is going to keep you in fat loss. Hopefully this video did help, guys. If it did, please smash the like button, and I'll speak to you soon.